Okay, next up, what I want to show you is something called CSS Inspect and something called CSS Enable and Disable. So what I'm going to do here is click Inspect up on the toolbar, this new Inspect button. Now, what's very cool is now if I start moving my mouse around my interface, and I'm in live view here too, by the way, what I get are these boxes showing up, which is really kind of crazy. These colored boxes as I move my mouse over top of different pieces of content. Now, what's very cool about this, let me try and find a spot here. Okay, let me explain this here. The cyan that I get as I'm moving my mouse around, any cyan that I see, there's another great example there, that represents the width and the height of the object, right? And then if I continue moving my mouse around, if I see any magenta or if I see any purple, what that is that's actually padding that would be on the object. And then any yellow that I see, there's some yellow, I just saw some flicker past, that would be margin. So that would be like space above and below, right? Now, what's very cool as well, and I don't know if you caught on to this or not, but as I move my mouse around, I have my Css Styles Panel open on the right-hand side, and I'm set to current over there, right? So what's cool about this is it'll sort of dynamically update the Css Styles Panel, that is, as I move my mouse around on screen, which is extremely cool. So for example, if I bring my mouse over top of this area here, Jeff's blog, just another WordPress blog, I can see there's some cyan there, and I can see that there's some yellow as well. And I go, okay, the yellow is margin, so there's quite a large amount of margin on top, just a little bit of margin on the bottom. I glance over on the Css Styles Panel, and I can see there's a value there. Margin top is 35 pixels, and the bottom is just 10 pixels, right? Very cool. The other cool thing that I can do is if I click here, that actually freezes the page, just single clicking. And now I can come over to the Css Styles Panel. I can interact with it. I can make some changes. Maybe I want to increase or decrease that top margin value if I wanted to. Maybe I'll drop that down to, say, 25, something like this, right? And when I hit enter, it's going to update for me automatically. Very cool. This is all about, CSS Inspect. Now, very quickly, because I got to keep this short here for you, is I'm going to rip through CSS Enable and Disable, which I love. I'm really excited about this new feature. I can't tell you how many times I've been troubleshooting CSS or trying to diagnose what's happening inside a layout, and I would remove a property, maybe some padding, maybe some margin, whatever, delete that property from a rule to see what impact that has on the layout, and then it turns out that it wasn't the property that I was after, so then I have to go put it back on and try and remember the values. If you've ever, tried to do troubleshooting with CSS, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But check this out. Over inside the Css Styles Panel, just to the left of any of these properties here, I get this little disable icon showing up. So if I click on that, what that does is that actually temporarily turns off the margin. So I look back inside my layout, the layout automatically updates. This is what the layout would look like if this particular rule did not have any margin on it. Or I could say, let's get rid of the width and see what the layout would look like if this property didn't have a width value set for it. Oh, extremely awesome, right? It's extremely awesome that I can actually do this. And so I can turn them back on just by clicking back on those icons, which is great, right? I mean, it's awesome stuff. And I can do this from the top half, the current panel inside the CSS Styles Panel as well. It's very cool, but the more I work with it, the more I want the ability to turn off entire rules at a time. Not just properties, but rules. I think that would be awesome, right? So anyway, maybe in the next version, maybe I'm asking for too much. I don't know. But anyway, it's very cool stuff. And again, if I come in here and I shut off some properties, what I can then do is if I right-click in the bottom portion of the CSS Styles Panel, actually, there's a couple of different places you can do this, but I could say delete all disabled in selected rule. What that means is commit these changes. I've disabled the width and the margin, and I'm happy with those guys being disabled. I want to remove those properties from the rule, so I'll say delete all disabled properties in the selected CSS rule. Or I could say, well, let's re-enable all of the disabled in a selected rule. Another new feature that I would love to see, and again, maybe this is in the next version, But if I have, say, one property disabled from this rule, and then I come along to, another rule, maybe something like this, and I disable a couple of things here, and then I go and disable a few other things from another rule, and then I go, okay, what did I go and disable, and what rule did I disable it from, and what properties did I disable? What I would love to see is a command that re-enables all across the entire site, or deletes all disabled properties across the entire site. To me, that would be awesome, because now I'm sitting here going, okay, I disabled the display there. I know that for sure. But what else did I disable? It was something up here, I think, but it was like 2 days ago. I can't really remember. You know what I mean? So it would be cool to have more site-wide features, I guess. But anyway, there you go. That's a super fast look at the CSS Inspect and the CSS Enable and Disable. I didn't get a chance to show you what happens inside the CSS code whenever you disable something, but what happens is that property actually gets commented out inside the code, which is pretty cool. But anyway, there you go. CSS Inspect and CSS Enable and Disable.